Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining our webinar today. Our focus topic is showing you the art of the possible with Microsoft Project and teams working together to improve your ability to plan, manage, deliver, and report on your most critical projects and programs. My name is Sarah Howard, and I'm with a Microsoft Gold partner called Progility. We've been implementing Microsoft Project and Portfolio Management solutions for over 16 years now for large enterprises. That includes everything from engineering, construction, IT, and new product development. People tend to get a hold of us when they can't easily explain what's going on across all of their projects. They don't know what resources are working on what work, and they have a hard time getting consistent reports and metrics to make project-based decisions. We offer services and solutions in 3 core areas, and Progility's core business is around deployment and consulting services, where we provide professional services for successfully planning and implementing Microsoft Project Portfolio Management, including Microsoft Project Online, integrating PPM with line of business applications, and delivering strategic portfolio management solutions to support top-level management planning. We also have a growing business intelligence practice that leverages best-in-class solutions such as Microsoft's Power BI. Progility also offers a set of pre-built software solutions and accelerators based upon 16 years of experience, including a set of Hammerhead products that provide improved access to your cloud PPM data, accelerates access to visual reports and dashboards using Power BI, connect data between your PPM system and Azure DevOps, Teams, Microsoft Planner, and Active Directory to improve visibility, insight, and control over your work, people, and projects. Finally, Progility provides post-implementation support services, including expert care, which is designed to assist your PMO with gaining on-demand expertise on the solutions supported. We also offer training for your end users and administrators and an e-learning offering that can improve consistency and adoption for your users of your project management tools. We do have a set of upcoming webinars covering topics ranging from better resource management with Microsoft PPM to using Project for the Web to manage business projects. All webinars will start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so you can register for one or multiple events through the Eventbrite link provided or by searching Eventbrite Progility in your browser. We hope you can join us for these sessions, which were designed based upon your feedback over the last 6 months. If you missed the Progility Virtual Project Conference back in April, you can now watch it online. It's broken into 3 sessions. First is client presentations from the state of North Dakota and Geisinger Health System, where they've shared their best practices for deployment adoption. And there's also a session on deployment and adoption best practices by Progility, and an entire session with experts from Microsoft talking about project in their industries and the overall product vision going forward. So you can visit the link here, which takes you to the YouTube playlist where these videos were posted. All videos from this and previous series are available on our best practice playlist on YouTube, which is listed on this page, with topics ranging from managing your digital transformation program using PPM technologies to integrating PPM with Agile and line of business applications. So feel free to subscribe and access this library at any time and share with your colleagues. So with that, I am going to hand it off to Rob Hirschman, who is a partner at Progility, who will be going through our content today. So Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks everyone for joining today. First, we're going to start with some of the challenges and trends we're seeing as it relates to modern project management, talk through what modern project management looks like from a Microsoft perspective, what some of the tools and technologies are as a part of that, and how it fits into the overall Microsoft ecosystem and platform with Office 365. We're then going to demonstrate a sample set of solutions that take you from a very basic level project management solution delivered the project in teams up through a more formalized project structure where you have a PMO and doing some governance, all the way through a center of excellence and enterprise PPMO with execution management around that PPMO and having reporting, all the way through integrating your development teams and DevOps into a collaborative hub using teams and projects. So we're going to bring all this together in a demo. Then we'll talk through what a reference architecture for these kind of solutions typically looks like, walk you through some good practices for planning, and ideally really help you create a vision for what's possible using Microsoft Project and Teams, because we get a lot of questions these days about how these tools can work together. But let's start out a little bit about talking about what's going on across work and the enterprise in general, and whether it's in your personal life or your work and in the industry or role type, from basic information workers to frontline workers, everyone deals with tasks in some way. And today, as information workers, we're asking for better tools to better manage these tasks. If you look at the statistics on the screen, 44% of the respondents of a survey said they're requesting more tools to manage more work. 33% of workers say it's the single biggest thing that would help them do their job more is having better process in place. In fact, a lot of those workers are also citing not prioritizing work correctly or not getting it prioritized from their managers as one of the reasons projects and work in general gets delayed. We're finding that 44% of these workers agree they would like better tools to manage all this information because it's coming from different sources and different people in the organization. And you'll see a lot of workers want to have a single destination to go to understand and manage their work. And as Microsoft Teams really becomes the operating system of the future or the hub, we're finding that 1 in 10 folks are using project management tools, but a lot of people are doing project management but aren't trained to be project managers. And this is all based on a survey that was actually delivered several years ago for US respondents of large organizations. If we start to kind of blow those statistics out a little bit, you'll see that 51% of the respondents say they're not using a work management tool at all, but they'd really like to. They want better tools to do their jobs and organize all this work. 58% of the respondents of this specific survey say they're so swamped with the day-to-day work, they just don't have time to actually back up and think about new solutions and actually add value to the business. 67% of these employees also report being burnt out. And I think we all know that feeling after the last year or so with COVID going on with an unmanageable workload. And that was one of the key reasons that 47% of these people say ease of access to the right information, that has the biggest impact on them being engaged as employees in projects. So there's a lot of statistics out there that are talking specifically to what's going on across industry. And we're finding that project managers and frontline workers are using really a variety of tools to do their jobs every day. A lot of folks, because of what happened with the pandemic, have moved to using Teams as the core platform or operating system for collaboration and working together. A lot of folks manage projects using Excel. The more advanced project managers use Microsoft Project on the desktop. A lot of people are starting to use Planner to manage unstructured work and kind of growing it up into projects. We're starting to see, other tools, the Microsoft To Do emerging. A lot of people have used SharePoint for years. So there's really a whole series of applications that are out there within the Microsoft suite that people are using to better manage and plan their work. And when we start talking about bridging this gap between work and delivering work and people, there's certain components of that are reality. The reality is we all are part of projects in some way, but we're not all trained to be project managers. And that can be very, very difficult if you're not going down this road where you don't have professional tools for the project managers to do their jobs. We all believe collaboration is very critical to doing our jobs, but the reality is we live in a very chaotic world. Things are happening all over the place, and we have different expectations from different masters at different times. And being able to centrally collaborate in one place with a central set of tools, no matter how structured or unstructured a project is, becomes very, very important. We all want to manage work in our own way, but we have to understand that organizations have a structure and a process for doing things that we need to follow. We know the best way for us to work, but we have to fit that into the organizational structure, understanding that a lot of the legacy tools we're provided with aren't really a modern fit for where we are and where we're headed as an organization, but personally as a frontline worker. So we start thinking about this. Because of this, people are starting to choose different tools to be successful. And what that's leading to is really the desire to use data a lot more efficiently, a lot more effectively. But the problem is, how do I report off that if I've got my data on all my work in 5 different systems? And finally, we want to use this information from a business perspective to get better business outcomes, to get better business results, to make better business decisions. But no one has a single consolidated picture of all that work going on, however structured or unstructured it is. So now we start looking at some of the tools and how they can be used to apply to these kind of business challenges. And Microsoft Project is part of the overall Microsoft Cloud platform. It used to be just a desktop application. Then it was connected into a server-based infrastructure on-premise. Now it's part of the Office 365 Cloud platform. And within the Cloud platform, we find there are different components that Project is going to be interfacing or interrelated to. We're going to break those up here in a second. But there's Dynamics 365, which is Microsoft's application platform. There is the Power Platform, which enables us to build and manage applications and business processes unique to our business. There's Microsoft 365, which has all the core components of traditional Office. And then there's partner solutions like Progility has that plug all these things together. Let's start at the top left. From a Dynamics perspective, again, Dynamics is Microsoft's application or ERP platform where you can deploy Dynamics 365 to manage human resources or marketing or finance or Salesforce automation. That's a part of this as well, because that is the platform of the future as it relates to building and deploying different applications. As we move over to the right, this is the Power Platform, and Power Platform is really made up of three core components. Power Automate is the ability to actually build and manage business process workflows in an automated way, in a low-code way. Power Apps gives us the ability to build forms and applications specific to our business needs and our processes. And finally, Power BI, which is Microsoft's industry-leading business analytics and reporting toolkit, where we can tap into data across any data source we have. So the Power Platform is going to play a key role in our project management process, the ability to analyze data and build specific business processes. Microsoft 365 is where the traditional Microsoft project components or project management components will live and work. This is where Teams is, and we'll talk more about Teams in a couple minutes. This is where Project lives, whether it's the modern project application or the legacy Project Online and Project Desktop tools, as well as Planner, which has become a lot more popular in a lot of organizations that are looking to better organize and collaborate on tasks and work. And finally, we have partner solutions like Progility, and we pull this together through providing best practice guidance and integration and apps sitting on top of this platform that can add value and save you time and money. So if we kind of pull this whole solution stack together, we start to see there's a ton of possibilities just in the Microsoft ecosystem where you don't necessarily need to leave the Microsoft ecosystem to solve your business problem as it relates to planning and managing projects. We find a lot of organizations are kind of swiping a credit card and pulling in web-based applications. Then your data is not contained. It's not reportable. There's risk of where your data is owned or where it lives. With Microsoft Office 365, you know it's always safe and secure in a single consolidated environment. But really, what's happened over the last 18 months is Teams has become really the hub for work across large enterprises. We start looking at it as a central tool that can be used to manage chats. As we're in a meeting and we're doing meeting management or collaborating, it's a very visual way for us to all connect wherever we're located. It's a great tool to do calls and to connect with different people in a voice over IP kind of method, but we're also starting to see Teams being used in more structured ways. We start seeing it as a file system where we can actually access our files that are stored in underlying data stores like OneNote and OneDrive and SharePoint, and then access those and have it be really the front end of all this. But what Teams is also emerging as is a platform for applications, workflows, and processes, where we can actually insert applications we have, project management applications, reporting applications, DevOps applications, and use Teams as kind of that hub of all the information. So folks can go from a meeting to updating a project, to looking at the status of a feature that's being built, to looking at a product, to getting a report, all within Teams. And that's really the overall vision of where you can go from a Teams and project management perspective, just from a process side of things. So you can start imagining, in this world we live in today, where you can start integrating your business processes around project management, whether it's change management, scheduling, resource management, integrating that with line of business or financial applications, automating routine tasks like assigning tasks to team members and getting their updates back, or providing visibility on those approvals and where they are. You can access applications that you have today through Teams. And it's a better platform to communicate and collaborate all in one place. So really looking at Teams as that application platform of the future and delivering different applications through it is really where things are headed from a Microsoft perspective. And obviously everything that happened with the pandemic and COVID has really sped up the adoption of Teams. So what we can start doing is pulling out the components of the Office 365 suite that are directly related to project management and deploying those in a Teams-related environment to add that structure. Project management is a very, very good use case for structured management of information and work and resources. We can plug that in and use Teams, and then we don't have each team building it on their own. We have each team accessing the data in a structured, managed way, and all that data is centrally stored in the Office 365 cloud. So we're going to show you and leverage how we're going to use Microsoft Project and the different project management solution components. We're going to be leveraging Power BI down at the bottom. We're going to be leveraging SharePoint and SharePoint Online for document management and collaboration. Teams, again, is that hub, pulling in data from Azure DevOps if we have it, also pulling in Dynamics information, my financial or ERP information all in one place, and also using Planner for what it's really, really good at. So again, this is really the platform we're using to plan and manage our work and our projects in Office 365. And there's really a couple of core steps we've found, 5 steps to actually implementing a successful project management solution within a Teams infrastructure. The first is setting up a proper environment. And if you do it wrong, what you're doing is you're wasting a lot of time, you're slowing down your team's ability to collaborate, and you're feeling really, really scattered. If you just say, hey, go manage your projects in teams without giving teams the proper structure, this is where risk happens. So you really have to pull in the right ingredients, just like you're baking a cake. You want to pull together, the people and the teams and the channels. You want to make sure things are structured properly from a file perspective, that the information is structured in your teams in a way that makes sense for the business, and that specific project management related applications are deployed based off the kind of information you need to capture, track, and manage on your projects. If you do that and you take that time to plan up front and use teams as that structured front end for your projects, a lot of great things can happen. And moving from there, we start to see, we can start to manage our projects once we've set up that environment and it maps to our process using the modern project for the web or project online. We can pull information together from tools like Azure DevOps or even Jira, where you're tracking your features, your iterations, all of your agile work is happening there. Why not pull it all together using teams? You can take your information from Planner, where you have kind of the lightly structured efforts or collaborative work, pull that together. And it's all in a project management context. So we can start to create projects and start to get, importantly, useful data where we can start to apply lessons learned and start to trend that and really see what's going right and wrong across all of our projects so we get better business outcomes from the investment. It's not just about the execution, it's actually about the strategy that maps to the execution. We can also use teams and project together to have this feedback loop with our stakeholders, so that we always have regular stand-ups. We've got our ad hoc meetings. We've got our structured project status meetings we're going to run through teams, with project being behind all that. That way we can also capture feedback from our partners, our stakeholders, and our customers, so we can always keep that feedback loop going and learn from our experiences, which is one of the reasons we do project management in the first place, is to improve on our delivery, to be able to measure it and deliver on time and on budget within scope, set expectations with the business or IT, and deliver on those successfully. And we're going to have the ability to monitor the progress of our visual timelines, get our updates from our peers, share this information with our management team members, which you'll see in the demonstration nets, get automated notifications and emails, and also get data from different systems and pull it all together so we have one place to access everything on the entire portfolio and specific portfolios we need information on. At the end of the day, it's really about sharing knowledge and information. Really, it's having a centralized base of knowledge to learn, to improve, to get better at things we're doing, whether it's looking at our meeting notes, our files from our historical projects or our live projects, our planning board, our detailed schedule for our larger efforts, recordings for meetings. Maybe we want best practice videos where we capture that, or communication with customers, or key reports we have. Again, keeping this all in one place and using Teams as that real hub is really the vision of where you can get when we start thinking about the art of the possible with teams and project. So what we're going to do now is walk you through some examples of how teams and project can be used together to bring together this structure at the different levels. So you'll see come up on your screen here. I'm in Microsoft Teams now, and from a planning perspective, we get a lot of questions on this. How do we see this working? How do you map a project that's in a project management system like Project to Teams? Well, the first thing we always recommend is to have a team for each project. And that way you have a one-to-one match between any of the activities happening on the project and any of the activities in Teams, so there's no confusion about where do I go to update my project. In this case, you'll see we have a listing of different projects here. So we're going to go to different projects to show you examples. We also have a dev effort, which is a development related project where we're pulling in infrastructure. We're also going to have a PMO team, where we're going to have different channels, such as a general channel, standards and best practices, and the ability to see training and professional development. Think of that really as our hub for our PMO or EPPMO. So let's start with a very basic project we have. We have this P1 marketing project, and this is using the latest version of project called Project for the Web, which, assuming we're in a scenario we're doing very basic project scheduling, some basic document management, some note management and collaboration, and some road mapping, this is a great way to start. So if I go to that project, the P1 General Marketing Project, you see I have several tabs. The first of those tabs is a Files tab. And this is where we can actually set up file libraries, and it becomes a repository for all of the information on the project. So maybe I'm working on a high-level marketing project, and I've got some contracts and design documents and management briefing documents. I would set these up. These are all living in SharePoint Online, which is connected to the Project for the Web project. So there's some retention there after the project goes away in Teams. Really important to note, you don't want the data going away when the team goes away. So that's why we keep it on the project side. And now we can get in and access and update different documents we have. If we want to go in and look at the details on the project schedule, This is using Project for the Web, Microsoft's latest version of Project, which is for kind of your casual or business project manager. And now we can go in and look at the overall project schedule. We can see all the tasks in a grid, but maybe we want to visualize that in a Kanban board. And we want to see for this particular project, what are the activities that are ready for management review? What's been complete? What gets completed by the end of the quarter? What's ready for closeout? Or what is the work that Jim or the marketing team has today? We can, in Project for the Web, bucketize it based off the progress, who it's assigned to, what the finish date is, and then we have a visual Kanban where we can very quickly go in, click into a task, update the status, put it in a different bucket, and then it's going to update very dynamically. So for organizations or projects that are kind of light touch in nature, where you have people that are more business project managers that may not be professional project managers, but you still want to give them a project management tool, this is where Project for the Web can be a really, really great fit. It also has, you'll see here, a Gantt chart. So we're going to start to drill down into specific activities we have on this particular project. Find my tasks here. Here we go. And then as a project manager, I can come in here and say, well, this task, extended out another week. I can drag and drop that out. Or I can say, this task is actually about 75% done. I can simply click on that. I status that task, and it statuses the project directly related to that. So this is where we're using Project for the Web with Microsoft Teams, providing that visibility into it. We may also want to capture notes on projects. This is where we can use Onenote. And Onenote is well integrated as a part of both SharePoint and Teams, where we can have a status OneNote for every project. And then we can keep status meeting minutes here, action items, assignments are all here as well. Again, using the best of Office 365 and a structured project management approach. We can then deploy different kinds of reports. So we may want some very standard Power BI reports pointing to the data that's in our Project for the Web system. And you'll see here for that specific project, it's going to show me all of the tasks that are on track or overdue. And if I just want to see the overdue tasks, I can see them. I can see they're coming from this project. I see when they should have finished a long time ago, how much effort is involved, and I can link directly back to the project right here. So it allows me to get that visibility and get reports on tasks, maybe the timeline for this particular project. I can see that in a visual, which is much easier for an executive to comprehend. And if you can create reports that go across your project management applications that are very visual in nature, where a manager can go in and say, well, why wasn't this first phase done? If we're on track with these user stories and these down here, it looks like we're missing a couple. What happened with that epic? What happened with that feature? What happened with that activity? They can ask those questions and try to get answers from the person managing the project. And that's really what it's about. It's driving to the successful outcome of these projects, even to the point where we're actually looking at a roadmap, and we can build and deploy roadmaps that look across our projects, and then we can start to drill into them and say, well, this project is part of a bigger program we have that's going on. How are those other projects doing? How is this task doing? And what are the details on that task? And what project is it from? We can use Teams as that visibility layer into roadmaps and projects and project-related information right from here. So, use case one is really a very basic project in a basic business-driven or business outcome type of environment where I don't need a big, heavy schedule. I just need, 15, 20 activities or tasks. I want to track the progress of those, visualize and report on them. Project for the Web with Teams is a really, really great fit. And when you go into Teams and you click on the project app, it's going to point you to Project for the Web. So this is the actual application it's going to point you to, but on the back end of that, you need to have Project for the Web set up properly, the user groups set up properly, the group members set up properly. But once you have that, you'll be able to visualize and update and status these projects. So kind of moving on from use case one of basic project management or business projects to a more formalized project structure, we're going to go up here to the health assessment reporting project. And this is a project I'm actually tracking and managing in my project online system, which is more for enterprise projects, doing resource management and portfolio management, where we have medium to large size projects in an IT or business or product organization. You'll see for this project, though, I've got additional tabs of information here. And so while I've got my project documents, just like I had in Project for the Web with the standard project document libraries, again, stored in SharePoint Online, I've also got a more detailed schedule. So unlike the Project for the Web schedule, which is very, very basic, a project online schedule is going to be a lot more detailed. And you're going to see here, I've got tasks and activities and milestones. So now I've got dozens of tasks here, and maybe I'm tracking the health and status. One of the differentiators between Project for the Web and Project Online, you'll see I'm assigning resources, and resources can provide actual updates to those tasks and activities through their own web-based user interface as well. So it's going to allow me not only to forecast using the full Microsoft Project Desktop client to do work and duration forecasting and units management, but also resource management here too. So I'm tracking the schedule, I've got my documents, but every project is going to have a risk repository, and this is where I'm going to track and manage all the risks on this project. And then I can assign these risks to different people and then be notified when something changes or apply a workflow to route that to different people for different approvals. But what we can also do is we can pull in Planner. Planner is a really great tool for work management. So if I wanted to come out of a status meeting, a project status meeting, and maybe I've got actions from that meeting, I had to send out a deck to the CFO and I wanted to have a couple people do different tasks or activities related to that. That's not something that's ever going to go in my project schedule. It's too low a level of detail. But Planner is a great tool to assign people to work and actually get updates on the progress on these activities outside of the formal project schedule. It can also be there to support administrative activities or any kind of work. So think of Planner as a great work management solution for action items on your projects. We can also start looking at the deliverables. So we may have a formal list of deliverables and a schedule around those and when they're being delivered. We're pulling that out and we have a specific view. But one of the great things about using Teams and Project is that integration with Power BI. We showed it to you on a project for the web project where we're mainly looking at status of tasks and activities. But really here, we're looking at a lot more than that. I'm going to run a status report here. And now you'll see we have 5 tabs on the status report. We have just pulled an on-demand status report for this project directly through Teams. And now you can see at the bottom right, we have all the milestones on the project that are coming from the underlying schedule. We can see the issues and risks and how many are low, medium, high impact. We can see the context. Hey, the project manager said, this is what we did this week. This is what we're doing next week. We also have some metrics in place about progress on tasks, progress on the whole project, any context on all of that, and how many tasks are really late versus late. So we can actually get our status reports directly out here, but we also have actionable items. We may be running a status meeting directly out of Teams using this Power BI report, pulling from project data. And this is where we can see all the late tasks, all the delinquent tasks, but also, what's finishing this week, what needs to be done next week, and what do we need to get caught up on? Let's assign that now, and let's move forward with the project. We'll also see reports on project risks, so we can start to nail down, hey, what are the biggest risks we have right now on this project? What's the mitigation? Who owns it? Is it being managed? What are we doing to actually mitigate that? As well as an issue report. And typically project managers would spend a day, day and a half of the week collecting information, pulling it into a manual status report, and then creating these kind of reports in PowerPoint. We can automate the flow of all that. We talk about process automation by getting your information into the system on a certain date and then driving on-demand status reports like this, as well as looking at the overall timeline for the project in a way that's meaningful to a business stakeholder. So this is a structured approach, again, kind of the level 2, formalized project structure using Project Online, and Microsoft Teams all working together in a single environment. We can also, again, have that notebook we showed you. We can capture our financial information, and we have our documents like we did before. That's level 2. And we start getting up a level from there where we start to integrate developer operations. So let's say, on that project, we've got a lot of activities going on the DevOps side. So we've got developer teams that are working on all the development features. I just got to log in here real quick. Okay. They're working on all the features. I want to make the status of those features visible to my key stakeholders. Well, why not directly link into Azure DevOps so I can see the status of all these features? So I know that on the development side, I've got this integration with Outlook. That's a feature. I've got access and authentication. That's a feature. If I want more information about it, I can simply click on it. It's giving me a view into what's going on in Azure DevOps, who's working on it, when it's supposed to start and finish, what the progress is. So I have a view into all of the work that's going on the DevOps side. I don't necessarily need to integrate the data. I can integrate it through Teams. Or if I wanted to see, what's the team working on today? What does the storyboard look like in an Agile world? It looks like we've got 2 active stories, user stories that are in progress today. And I may want to drill in and see a little more information about any of these. Again, it's fully interactive, so I can see all of the information on these features and user stories. Maybe I want to get a status report on DevOps status in general. This is, again, using Power BI, where I can go in, I can say what iteration am I focused on, or specifically which project. And then I can say, okay, show me everything being done by Josh Howard right now, because I see Josh maybe going on vacation in the next couple of weeks. So it looks like he's working on 2 features and 1 user story. Here they are. And what's the impact of Josh going away for a week? And can I maybe take somebody else like Sunny here? What's Sunny working on? And then we can go over to Project Online and look at his or her utilization and see what the availability of Sunny is across all of his projects. So we can get these reports using Azure DevOps and Power BI, and even drill down into the sprint status. Say, okay, give me more information about a specific sprint. This is based on metrics coming on the Agile side, but maybe we want to look at it in terms of, all the committed work, and how much of that is network related versus cloud versus operations. And then, by the way, who's doing all of that work within our DevOps tool? Now we can get in and start look at things like, overall cycle time, or back this out to our targets and say, show me my DevOps, or back it out to the higher level. Let's go back and back and back to cloud infrastructure. And now we can back that out as well. So it's a really nice feature, the ability to go in and actually start to drill into your reports and get DevOps related metrics to look at things like cycle times or backlog times. People say project can't do that stuff, and they're absolutely right. It's not designed to do Agile, but Azure DevOps is. So why not bring these worlds together and allow them to live together in Microsoft Teams? Common user interface. And finally, what if you're not using Azure DevOps? You're using a competing tool like a Jira. Jira has a connection into Teams as well. And what if I wanted to go and maybe look at all of my Jira issues I have? Everything in Jira is an issue in some way, and I want to see, the different user stories that are out there. I simply click on it. Again, I have that visibility into the information now. So Teams becomes a great layer or user interface around all this, whether you're working on traditional project management, whether you're working on waterfall, you want to see the developer, the Agile world, you can bring all this information together through Teams. And finally, if we think more at an aggregate level, from a PMO's perspective, I'm trying to implement standards. I'm trying to put process in place. I'm aiming for a center of excellence, and I want to really get that word out and have best practices and a common hub for this. That's where I can actually set up a team, PMO team in this case, where I can have a series of tabs. So if I wanted to have a central PMO portal, this could be done in SharePoint, but now I can visualize that through Teams. People can come in here and they can quickly and easily get access to all of the templates I have. So I need a communication plan template or a cost benefit template. It's always updated and available here. Likewise, I can communicate my process. So if I wanted, folks to want to understand what does the initiation process look like versus planning and execution, integrate that directly in using SharePoint, Visio Online, and Teams. Maybe I want management to come in and look at a portfolio dashboard that shows me at a top level all of the programs and projects I have going on across the enterprise. Again, a great use case for Power BI, looking at a portfolio overview, and then as a manager, I can click in, and now I can see the 11 programs that are really in trouble, and then drill into just the transformation program, which seems to be a huge risk. We're almost $2 million over budget as it is. We can actually view our roadmaps here. So if you think kind of at that higher level, I may want to provide management with this high-level business roadmap of all the different projects I have going on, and the ability to look at them, whether they're in project, whether they're in Azure DevOps, or project for the web. And these are actually a combination of projects from different systems all in one place. I can see them in one place, I can click on it, and now I can see where it's coming from and the information about it. Or maybe I want to provide visibility into that live project center that comes from Project Online, where I can actually see a portfolio view, start to drill into specifics on programs and projects all in one place. And again, go to that transformation program. Now I look at all the projects within it and I start to see what's the one in trouble. Now I can drill into that. Gives me that visibility. Additionally, I can start doing some of my resource planning. So if I wanted to come in here and get a capacity and demand profile look, I can take a look at a heat map that helps me visualize where people are over or under allocated. What projects are they working on? How many hours are they over allocated? So I can make good, smart staffing decisions. And any other kind of information you wanted to put out there, if you wanted to do your portfolio analysis, get strategic portfolio management reports, or even look at a program dashboard. This is all the kind of information you would potentially get through Teams, tapping into the data in one of your project for the web, Project Online, all through Power BI. So we're using the Power Platform here to really enable access to this. But really, one of the other nice things you can start doing is pull this information together for best practices. We mentioned processes. Well, maybe someone needs to know about project initiation. How does it happen? Integrate your process directly into Teams so we can actually provide people with direct access and guidance. Instead of it being in a binder, now it's online and it's all visual and intuitive. So they can hop through your processes or even access those document templates. And finally, from a training and professional development perspective, we always want to give our project managers opportunities to learn. to provide them with access to great assets where they can learn more, become better project managers, which adds value to the overall business. And this is the place where we can provide access to those who want to be PMPs, direct PMP prep information your organization subscribes to. Maybe you want to provide access to training videos. So this is an example of using Microsoft Stream to deploy training videos on the core Microsoft project application. So, as a project manager, I always forget how to baseline. How do I create that schedule? How do I work with calendars? I can click in this and it's actually going to play this video right from the beginning. So training video access is really great, but also e-learning. E-learning is where you can actually integrate, if you have an e-learning, like we use a system called iSpring, where we can actually integrate all of our courseware for managing projects and managing resources and managing projects and project for the web directly into Teams, and it all renders directly through Teams. So now I can come in here, I can look at all of my training in one place, I can schedule my courses, and then I can continue on the progress on my training right from here. Yep, and then I click on this, it opens up in my window, and now I'm into the training UI. So Teams is really that great user interface that can pull all this information together. So, what does this look like from a reference architecture perspective? How do I think about Teams and all these different tools together? Well, if you think about it from a stack perspective, it's really an integrated solution. You see on the top, we have Microsoft Teams, and this is going to be the client user interface on top of all the other services to give you that real-time communication and collaboration. So as it relates to project management information, we leverage Project Online and Project for the Web for our enterprise project data. That would be schedules, that would be resources, it would be tasks, it would be work and assignments. That's all going to be managed in Project Online and or Project for the Web. Our files and our issues and risks are all managed through SharePoint Online, directly integrated to the project. And that's going to allow us to do our collaboration, our issue and risk management and tracking and assignment of all of that information. But Planner does play a role here. Planner is a great tool for action items, meeting minutes, task assignments outside of a detailed project schedule. Planner is going to plug in here as well, and we can use Planner as it relates to Teams, as well as running our status reports, whether it's a project, program, or portfolio level like we showed you. That's really where Power BI comes into play. Again, Teams becomes the modern operating system of the current and the future. Deploying different applications in there really allows us to streamline our processes and make them more consistent. So our recommendation is to kind of think from the bottom up here, not the top down. If you give your organization the ability to be flexible and build whatever they want in Teams, you're going to have 50 different ways you run your projects. There'll be no way to report off it. But if you start at the bottom with Project and SharePoint and Planner and Power BI and say, hey, what's the right solution for the job? Let's put that in place and use Teams as the user interface to integrate this data together. That's really a recipe for success here. And that's all about proper setup and deployment so that you have access to the information to make business decisions. So we talk about good practices going forward. If you're planning on using a solution like this, how do you want to get started? Well, the first thing in the red box is ask the question of what are the specific business requirements you have and for reporting around project management. What types of projects do you do? What level of complexity are they? What kind of reporting do you need to do? What kind of resource management are you looking to do? Define those requirements and then come to the table and look at these tools. If you start with a tool and don't have a requirement, it's not going to be any good. It's going to add very little value. You also want to think about who needs access to what information to make certain business decisions. Are we catering just to a project management organization where people are just managing projects and you want a better and easier way to do that? Are you a portfolio management or a program management organization where you're trying to do enterprise portfolio management in some way, where you need to have some consistency and you want to roll that up? Are you looking at more of an enterprise governance approach that has a PMO as well as project managers within it? Again, that's different access to different information. You're going to need to structure, which gets back to your business requirements. You also want to ask the question in purple, what technologies do we have in place today? How are those tools being used? How are we supporting those to make this as easy as possible? Making a leap from nothing to a level 2 or 3 is a huge leap, but you definitely want to think about how can I leverage the existing skills and tools you have. And the Microsoft suite, the good thing is a lot of times most organizations always have access to them and they're already using them. Bottom are really, really important questions. One of those is, what is the current organizational maturity as it relates to processes around project management? Back up from the tool for a second and say, how well do we really plan to manage projects? Are we level 0? Are we a level 2 or a 3? Are we fairly mature at a level 4 or a 5? That's going to tell you what you can do from a tool perspective. A lot of people come in and try to put a level 5 tool in to a level 1 organization and it fails miserably. Think about the maturity and map the tools to the process. And finally, think about a pilot. How can I get started with a pilot? I don't want to boil this whole thing down. I want to start with something very basic. I want to get it in place and I want to grow it. Understanding there's going to be an investment in time, people, and money to do that. Even if you're doing a pilot, you want to make sure that pilot's successful. So you want to plan for it, you want to budget for it, you want to give yourself enough time not only to set it up, but to use it for 3 or 6 months, to refine that and then sell that bigger and broader. That's really what this is about. And hopefully these are some good practices that can guide you there. But really the benefits of having a really solid plan and strategy in place, there's really 5 of those. The first of those is you're getting a well-planned deployment. You're not just dropping in a tool and hoping people use it in a certain way. And in the project management world, it's all about planning. And if we don't do our planning, we're not going to get the expected results. So if we don't sit down and plan this out and understand what our investments are going to be, time, money, and people, we're never going to do this in the right way. So a well-planned deployment is the foundation of a good strategy. Having some kind of organizational alignment and understanding, who am I doing this for? Is it for IT? Is it for stakeholders of IT that want visibility? Is it for the CFO who wants to see what's going on across all the projects? And making sure there's alignment from the top down in terms of the information people need and the information you can realistically manage to drive success and define that. That also drives for good data. Unless you have good data going into the system, you're not going to have good information coming out to make business decisions through your reports. Good data comes from good alignment, a well-planned deployment, good processes and procedures, people following a consistent set of methods and tools, and then getting the information in a consistent, managed way. You're going to have to reinforce that. And from good data comes trustworthy reporting. Reports that management can look at and say, hey, red means red, yellow means yellow. I'm not doubting the information in it. I trust that that information is accurate because I know all the things below that are in place. And what this provides you with is not only a solution that adds value now, but provides you with long-term flexibility should the organization change, should there be another catastrophic event, should there be smaller events where you need to switch it around. You'll be able to back up. You'll be able to evaluate your portfolio of projects. You'll be able to make decisions. What do I invest in? What do I execute on? What resources do I have? And then as the organization changes, as new stakeholders come into the organization, you're going to give them tools to make those decisions. They're not going to have to go out and do a package selection and you wait 2 years to get this information. You have it already. It gives you flexibility and it adds a lot of value to the organization. So really, our recommendation is to start by building a really solid strategy, evaluate the right tools for the job, make sure they align to your organization, and push for having really good data and information, which comes through training, enhancement, support, adoption, really building this up through a series of pilots and really learning over time. So that concludes the presentation part of this. At this point, I'm going to hand it back to Sarah.
Thanks a lot, Rob. So we'll now open the floor to Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, please type them into the Q&A chat box where I will read them aloud. Again, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A chat box, please. To learn more about how Progility can assist with improving and implementing your project and portfolio management solution, leveraging project and teams, feel free to contact us through the info listed here. We'll set up time to review your needs and provide recommendations. And again, my name is Sarah Howard with Progility. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today, and have a great rest of your day and week.